All right, everyone, here I am exactly where I don't want to be. It's not that I'm afraid of heights. I just don't want to carry a ladder. I don't want to get up and down 100 times. I don't want to be 20 feet in the air for no reason. I don't want the ladder to be spread out over a table, and so I hope not to hit it and knock over the centerpiece. It's just an inefficient way of working. But as you can see, every once in a while, you just have to get on the ladder and place the fixture. Now, just to start with, I did build the Angolite system to have an incredibly powerful magnetic base. So I thought to myself, what would be the thinnest, weakest point we would grab onto? And that becomes a drop ceiling. The drop ceiling grid is notoriously the most difficult room to work in. A lot of venues have this, and it's always been very hard to get a fixture locked onto it. And you're always worried about damaging it, and you're always worried about the speed of working in that space. And sometimes the venue just doesn't want you to touch it ever. But if we can do it magnetically and we can do it quickly, and from that it saves a lot of time and it changes the workflow of how the venue works, all of a sudden you become an asset. You become, shall I say, a friend of the venue. The way that you work actually helps them work at a different pace and definitely a smoother way. In fact, if you can do things a lot faster, it tends to be even something they rely upon, meaning they could book the space in the morning knowing that you don't need to be there till the afternoon. So having this magnetic base connect to this ceiling changes the whole process of how you work at that venue. But here's the trick. If I'm talking about two different systems, I'm standing on the ladder right now doing it manually. I call that one system. And then we're going to go to another video segment and talk about how we utilize our multi-tool system and focus head with a fixture and other components attached. But in its basic form, we have the Angolite with a magnetic base and a steel cross point. Now, looking up at the ceiling, you see how there's always a cross point here. I always recommend to use that. That's where it's strongest. That's where a lot of contact points above the ceiling are locked on. And of course, the 2 points are actually locked right at the point at where they cross. So it's naturally just a stronger area to grab onto. Now the fixture, if you take a look at the magnet, is very small. And I actually recommend to put it on at a 45-degree angle, and I'm just going to kind of get it close here. Instead of being square up, I recommend at an angle, and it allows it to touch less of the panels and more of the steel. Now, as you see with our ceiling here, I want to just tell you guys up front that this is a piece that we built for a lot of our trade shows, and we beat it up. So it's not the typical piece that we're looking at. I've purposely smashed into it with lights, and I've ripped fixtures off it to show people how the magnet works. So little bits in, where we attach here can be worn. But the goal is that the fixture will do no damage, and it will connect on without leaving any scratches or any issues behind. Now, let me show you what happens here. When you connect the fixture, it's pretty well attached, all right? So you feel it connects. I'm pulling straight down and it doesn't come off. The way a magnet actually can be removed, or something with a magnet can be removed off of something, is what they call shearing it off. When you break the surface of the magnet sideways, like this. So here's the trick behind the whole system. We want to be able to move the fixture head like this, three-dimensionally. We don't want this piece, of course, to detach from the ceiling. So the power of the magnet and the amount of force it takes to move your gooseneck is critical, that one doesn't outpower the other. So when you're on a ceiling like this and you connect the fixture, you definitely can manually grab a hold of it and move it without an issue. Now, you notice I can spin it a little bit. It doesn't affect how well it's staying on there at all. But the head will move anytime very easily, and you'll be able to position. This is basically a manual placement and positioning of the beam. And then at the end of the night, you can simply bend it, it disconnects, and you take it right off. Now, this is the standard general way you've worked in the past, but I'm on a ladder that's a few feet tall. And if this ceiling was 18 feet in the air, you wouldn't want to be doing this. this would be either considered impossible at the venue, or it'd be so much work, it would translate to a bigger budget, more people, more time, and it just may be nixed right out of the design because of the process. So with lower ceilings that you can reach, and if you have ladders already, this is clearly easy. But I'll tell you this, once you've placed this, you still have to focus it, right? You still have to get down from the ladder and clear the ladder out of the way and focus it on something. And that's where a multi-tool system comes in. Now, I'm going to give you one safety piece of advice here. This magnet is powerful, but the ceiling is also very thin metal. So what happens, as you can see when I go to remove it, it can be removed when you push the fixture hard enough to its side. So doing this manually is safe. You can control how much force you put on the head. You can hold the body and you can adjust it in different ways, and it's very, very safe and it's not going to come down. But if you try to use our focus tool, which you'll see in a later piece, you will notice that you have a lot more leverage with the tool. Not only does the focus tool and the pole have weight, but you may or may not misjudge your own strength, and you could push it hard enough to release it. Now, does it just fall? No, of course not. You realize what you're doing and you regain it and it stays right there. But the smoothness in which you focus and the confidence that you will feel is different than when you're doing it manually. So manually, not a problem. Drop ceilings, not a problem. The fixture was designed to be there. But when you want to talk working from the floor all the way to the ceiling without a ladder or lift system, that's where the multi-tool system comes into play, and that's where the focus head really helps you. So in this case, that's the general overview. You can simply attach, focus, turn it on, you're done, ready to go, not a problem. Now, if you're very careful with the focus tool, you can position it. You just have to take your time. But if you want more confidence, check out the video segment with the cross mag and the single install tool and the way that works, and you'll see how these components work together to be a complete thought process. So check that out. If you have any questions on how to install on different types of ceiling types or surfaces or anything that you're challenged with, give me a call and we'll work through it with you. But this is the basics of simply connecting it to a drop ceiling.